Hello, in this video I want to show you how to design the graphical elements for a touchscreen display system. In front of you here you can see our hardware. I have a touchscreen display on a matrix E-block system, and here we have a ESP32 low-lin light board. This is a temperature control system that we've mocked up for the purposes of this demonstration. It doesn't exist in real life, but it has a display with the time and date, the pressure, the humidity, the status of the heater, the actual temperature, a small graph, and I can control the time. I can set the date, and I can also dictate the program for the heater controller by clicking on these fields here. So again, on any element I can alter the time and the temperature and so on. So that's the hardware. Let's look at how you prepare the graphics for this system. It's very important that you plan your system well. If you plan in advance, it saves you time and it helps communicate to your team what you want and what your ideas are. So you can imagine that if there are a team of people, a graphic designer, a programmer, an electronic engineer, then the first thing they might do is come up with some initial concepts on the display options in terms of graphics. And here you can see the concepts that you might choose. A cool blue one, Windows-like, plain, or something a bit more graphical with a marble effect. The information is the same on all of them. So you start off by choosing one of the concepts, or refining it. So here we had some more choices, and in the end we chose this amber display here. What you then need to do is you need to plan all of your screens. You need to plan all the graphical elements, all the menu buttons, and all the interactive hotspots, if you like, that are going to be on your system. I like to put a grid which is the X by Y of the graphical display, 480 by 320 in this case, and that helps in terms of planning. So here we're setting fonts, graphics, images, colors, and so on. From this you look at the graphics and you refine your ideas a little. So here is the original graphics, and then during the creation we decided to make sure that each of the arrow buttons, menu and home are the same size, 45 by 45 pixels. These are 70 by 70 pixels, and we looked at the different sliders and text fields that we wanted as well. Also at this time you look at fonts. Inside Flowcode there are 4 fonts available in quite a number of sizes: Arial, Arial Bold, Courier and 7 segment. You can create more fonts if you want to. And then this gives you the total plan for our system. So let's now look at how you implement that in Flowcode. This is the Flowcode implementation. I've got a display here. It's an ILI 9488, and connected to that are several components. A display manager, which we'll use in dictating the touchscreen behavior, a fundamental touchscreen component, a graph component, and a bitmap draw component. And this is the PWM for the backlight. What I like to do on my panel is I set up all of the graphics that we've dictated in the first stage, and this reminds me of the programming task ahead of me. If you like, the specification is on the programming screen. I also set up a lot of constants. We've decided, for example, that the gold text is RGB 2552041. I set up a lot of constants so I don't have to keep remembering what those numbers are. Same for the fonts. So the fonts are controlled, as you can see here. This is the properties of the display, and you just set up the individual font numbers and you can refer to those whilst you're programming. Similarly with the bitmaps, what you do is you use the bitmap draw component and you save the individual arrows and menu buttons as separate bitmap files, and then you can refer to them as bitmap 0, 1 and so on inside the programming. This system fully simulates, which saves a huge amount of time, and it simulates quite faithfully. One of the pitfalls here is the colours. The colours don't simulate faithfully in the display that we've chosen. This is something to watch out for. Some screens have RGB at 8 bits. Our screen is much lower cost and only has RGB at 5 bits. So that means the colours are not faithfully reproduced. That's something you need to watch. But the simulation is fantastic. As you can see, it looks identical to the actual software, and this just saves an awful lot of time in terms of creating programs. In our next video, we'll look at how you implement the touchscreen system.